Welcome to a special audio-only edition of Wildcats Weekly presented by Armored Roofing. I'm Ben Horner here with you Wildcats fans. Thanks so much for joining us on what's going to be another great edition of Wildcats Weekly. On this week's show, we'll revisit a weekend split with the Rio Grande Valley Killer Bees that also featured a highly successful jersey off our back auction on Saturday night. We'll also sit down with Wildcats head coach John LaFontaine and get his thoughts on the weekend that was and the two games upcoming against the Corpus Christi IceRays. And of course, we'll get you set for the coming weeks with all the news and notes you need. All that and more coming your way just after this on Wildcats Weekly presented by Armored Roofing. Ben Horner with you here, Wildcats fans, and joining me now is Wildcats head coach John LaFontaine on an audio-only edition of Wildcats Weekly presented by Armored Roofing. It's a bit of a short, truncated week for the Wildcats, so we're doing our best to get everything done that we can. It's been a whirlwind last few days for the Wildcats, including a split with the Rio Grande Valley Killer Bees and a very successful jersey off our back auction to benefit Children's Miracle Network. We'll talk all of that in the next few minutes, but John, let's dive into the weekend that was. It started off on a bit of a somber note. The Wildcats' first shutout loss of the season on Friday night, a 1-0 result, but they bounced back with a 2-0 win on Saturday. Special teams were the keys to the victory on Saturday evening with a pair of power play goals, and Austin Shaw was stellar in net. But John, what were your overall takeaways from that weekend that was?
Well, Ben, I didn't see the Friday coming where we would have zero goals. And even though we had 33 shots, they did a really good job on us, and we just didn't fight to get to the net enough. We didn't have enough sense of urgency to get pucks on net with screens and drive the net, and even when we had chances, it just seemed like we just didn't bear down. It just seemed like we were off a little bit, but good teams kind of usually find ways to win those games, and so it was a frustrating game, I'm sure, for the players too. Especially, it stayed 1-0, and that's how it finished, and we just didn't seem, even in the third, when normally if we're down, we're going to generate a lot of quality opportunities. We just didn't seem to be able to get to the net, and they did a good job. I mean, it wasn't that much different Saturday night either. So, I mean, if you were going to say that we were going to give up one goal on the weekend and lose a game, I would have told you no way. So, but good weekend by Austin in net, and our defense was better. Our defense was better all weekend, obviously only giving up one goal. I thought we limited their grade A's for the most part. Our penalty killing was much better, and it was nice to get a couple power play goals on Saturday to win.
We'll touch on the defensive performance in just a moment, but you mentioned the grade A scoring chances there, and that's something that I try to keep an informal tally of as the game kind of moves on. And on Friday night, it really didn't seem like, although the Wildcats were generating a handful of half chances, you might call them, there was nothing clear and definitive that you could say, yup, that was the chance right there. Was that a testament to the Killer Bees' game plan in that they were trying to take away the middle of the ice?
Yeah, that game gave them 4 out of 5 wins. I mean, they won 4 out of 5, and if you look at the scores, they were 2-1, 2-1 games, just about every game. They were very low-scoring games. And, even, Ben, our games with them, have been fairly low-scoring games. I don't know if we've even broken out, and maybe I'm wrong, but we were down there, and it was 3-2 and 3-0 with a game that not quite done, and that would have been our best game against them. But They do a good job defensively. They really, I think, in some ways and aspects, they don't generate as many shots because of their intensity at which they play D, and they don't want to take chances. They want to make sure they're back. So they cause you to turn the puck over a little bit more, and they cause you to get frustrated because you don't have a lot of time and space through the mid zone into their zone, and so it was a good test for us, and glad to see that. We played much better defensively. We still have work to do there. And then hopefully we'll get our hunger back. And most of it is just paying the price in the tough areas of the ice to generate what you need to offensively.
Yeah, this Rio Grande Valley team certainly more closer to the identity that you would expect from Joe Coombs this time around than when we saw them at the KYC back in November for that 2-game sweep. Just to kind of round out that point you were talking to,
Yeah.
John, just 4 goals. That's the highest offensive output against Rio Grande Valley this year for the Wildcats. And when you consider that the Cats are averaging over 4 goals per game, that is somewhat notable. I want to kind of spotlight something real quick before we dive really into the defense head first. You get the 2 power play goals on Saturday. It's obviously great to get that side of the special teams clicking. You've got a 6-for-6 performance on the penalty kill on the weekend as well. But, John, it's now 165 minutes and change since the Wildcats last scored an even-strength goal. What are your general thoughts on that as where that kind of dry spell has come from, especially coming off of a streak where the Wildcats scored 20 goals in 3 games?
Yeah, and I don't know how to explain it, Ben. I wish I did. I
don't we all?
Yeah, I do know. Our focus as coaches has been to shore up the D side. Our focus and emphasis has been on D skills, getting everybody up to being able to pivot and play a guy better one-on-one in certain situations and reading the ice and just playing more sound team defense. But you have to do that with everybody getting better individually first at the D side of the game. And, normally when you get better defensively, at least our team, when we play our best defensively, our offensive output is there because we're not playing defense. We're transitioning quicker to defense, and we have the puck now quicker on offense. So I don't know how to explain it. I wish I did. I don't think it's just as simple as, we've been focusing on defense, so that's why our offense has gone, because the way our season has gone and the way this team has gone is the better we play defensively, and we played better defensively. Usually our output offensively increases. So I don't think we just all of a sudden lost our offensive game. I do think that we're going to see lower scoring games from here on, Ben. I just think that teams are going to be desperate, playing as if it's playoffs, playing, just putting the pedal all the way down, just because they're either trying to make the playoffs or they're trying to get their game at the highest level. And I don't want people to misunderstand this. You can't be doing that this time of year. Some teams have to, but if you do, you're gonna peak too early. You're gonna
Well, you're going to be out of energy by the time you get to the postseason.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't mean you don't play hard. You still demand them to get, but you got to focus on getting better without it being a desperation. If we don't win, we're done. You know what I mean? And but with that said, we have to be ready to play more playoff environment, more playoff style hockey, which is tighter checking, not as many odd mans. Probably have to indirect more and get the puck deep more versus our ability to make plays through the mid zone or come across the blue line with the puck and delay and find areas that they're going to be back. Teams are going to be playing more conservative, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, just 2 points on that whole 165 minutes and change without an even strength goal. It is worth mentioning that in that stretch, the Wildcats were going against possibly the top goaltender in the league and an NHL draft prospect in Matej Tomek on that Saturday night against Topeka, who, for all accounts, really did play a stellar game between the pipes after he bounced back from the Friday disappointing result, a 7-4 win for the Wildcats when he gave up 5 goals through 2 periods. And then, of course, Nick Schmidt, who, if you look at the raw numbers, not necessarily jumping off the page at you, but he had been 4-1-0 heading into last weekend. So Schmidt certainly was on a roll. But, John, you mentioned that defensive play as we're speaking with Wildcats head coach John LaFontaine on Wildcats Weekly presented by Armored Roofing. I'm Ben Horner. That's Coach LaFontaine. You'll hear him in a second. Now, 3 straight games with fewer than 30 shots on goal against. And that's a benchmark that you had been setting over the last few weeks as what you want to see your team do is start to rein it in and bring it down below 30. Were you happy with the overall quality of chances conceded, i.e., were you okay with the defensive zone play? What was your generic takeaway from that weekend? What did you like, and what were the improvement areas?
I think as a whole we got better, Ben. We kept the puck to the outside. We kept their scoring chances for the most part to the outside. We boxed out better. Did we have some breakdowns once in a while? Yes. Did they have parts of the game where the puck was in our zone? Yes. And that's going to happen. It's pretty tough to not have times in the game where they're going to be able to hem you in somewhat. But as long as you stay on the D side and you keep the puck to the outside and you don't allow anybody at the net wide open for an easy tap in, you're playing better. And so we did play better, and we are improving, and we need to continue to improve that, and that's going to make the difference. In the end, we have a lot of depth, and we have the ability to put the puck in the net, and our special teams have shown that they can do that with the hope if we continue to improve on the PK. But in the end, we got to play better D than the other team.
Real quick on the penalty kill before we jump ahead to this weekend set against the IceRays. It seemed like from where I was watching there was a concerted effort by the penalty kill to simplify and just get it out when it was on their stick first time of asking, which was something that the Cats had been struggling with over the past few weeks. Had that been a point of emphasis in practice as you were working on the special teams?
Yeah, we worked more on the PK than we had in a while, Ben, and it probably should have had more emphasis and focus before that. I think sometimes you take it for granted, and each power play that you play against is a little bit different. So you're talking about what their strength is, what they want to do, and how to best defend that. So I just think the guys went back to basics and put a little bit of focus on it. And some of the guys that are very strong at it, we went back with, the Farmers and Stobbs. We were giving a lot of other guys some opportunity on the PK, which was good. And it was a good time and good stretch to do it. And in the end, you're watching which guys are the best at it. And it would be great if we had five pairs, 6 pairs of guys that could go out and PK as well as the first two. And so with that said, that is the goal is to get more and more guys understanding how to do it and the work it takes and the stick work it takes, and then being on the same page. I think probably the emphasis helped it a little bit, and hopefully it doesn't jinx us and we have trouble this weekend. But we are going to play a really tough team on the power play this weekend. That's going to be important.
Yeah, absolutely. There has been a method to the madness, to be sure, for the Wildcats and the penalty kill. And perfect segue into, I love it when you do this for me, John, perfect segue into this weekend against the IceRays when Corpus Christi comes to town. The Cats 3-1-0 against Corpus Christi this year, posted a big sweep against the IceRays back at the beginning of December. This is an IceRays team that really struggles away from Corpus Christi, but they did just pick up their first road win of the season last Saturday, a big 4-3 shootout win in Wenatchee. What can we expect from this weekend? These are two of the higher scoring teams in the league, but these are also two teams that are looking to shore up the defensive side of the puck as well.
Yeah, and that's interesting, Ben, because our first game against them, and you were there, it was in Corpus, and I thought they were the best defensive team we played all year. Boy, did they really shut us. They beat us 7-4, and we still got some output, but we just didn't have any room, and they just seemed like they were all on the same page defensively. And even the next night, it was a 3-1 hockey game, and it was a really good hockey game. And so they were just that impressive, and they have a good record. But if you would have told me that same team isn't going to have a road win until now, I would have said no way. Their power play is one of the best in the league. Cortez and Michaud are as good as it gets. Can play on anybody's team and be a number one center and a number one D on anybody's team, probably including the USHL, which gives them such good power play execution consistently. I got to believe with them finally getting their first win, they're going to be extra tough to play against this weekend or Thursday, Friday. And we have to be prepared that it's not going to be the Corpus Christi that we played in December. They were a little short-handed. They had some guys hurt, and we took advantage of that. And I think that they're going to be much better this time around.
Yeah, certainly not to expect a 15-3 aggregate score on the weekend this Thursday and Friday set. It's going to be a much more tight checking affair. John, you mentioned Anthony Cortez there, and that brings up another great point for this weekend. We're going to see two of the leading scoring defensemen in the league on the ice this weekend at the KYC. Matt Cook currently leading all North American Hockey League in defensemen. He also set a new single-season record for assists by a Wildcats defenseman. More on that in a little bit. But this is going to be an opportunity to see two of the best defensemen that the North American Hockey League has to offer. Cats fans obviously get to see a lot of Matt Cook, but from the bench, as you watch the game, what separates a guy like a Matt Cook or a Anthony Cortez from someone else in the pack?
Well, I think it's fair that we got to throw in Cam Knight and throw in Jake Townsend too, and because they're just as effective on the power play. They have that vision. They have that little extra. I always say sometimes they don't have a pulse. They don't panic on the power play. They have a little more deception to their game when they're reading the ice and they're looking to see who's open. They can look one way and pass another. They can look a guy off by faking like they're going to make a play, get him to stop, keep moving the feet and find somebody else open. So they just have that little extra ability not to panic in certain areas of the ice. And of course, the top that they're playing as a quarterback on the power play is huge. And so we are very lucky to have three guys. Most teams you're fortunate if you have one, and they certainly have one in Cortez. And they have another defenseman that's pretty good. He was an import player that didn't play the last week, and a lefty. I forget his name, but he's not quite as mobile as Cortez. But when he's playing, he's as good as anybody too. He's better shooter.
Skating and vision, obviously, the two biggest assets for a defenseman. And John, is there something to the old adage that for the best players the game just slows down or the game is a little bit slower? And if so, could that be applied to the Cam Knights, the Matt Cooks, the Anthony Cortez, and the Jake Townsends of the league?
Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it, Ben. When Matt has the puck, you can just see he's reading two or three moves ahead. He sees somebody that's going to be open in a second or two, and so he delays, or he'll find somebody, and then he'll throw the puck to an area, and it's like, what was he doing? Oh, wow, went right to our guy, He just thinks ahead and sees the ice so well and anticipates the game, It's a good understanding of the game, and we have other guys. Cam is good at that, and so is Jake, and we got guys that are getting better. But that's some of that, you call that a sixth sense. They just have that extra ability to think the game ahead and think two steps ahead, and the game is so fast that it's hard to be able to do that. So you've got to have the skills, puck handling, skating, to be able to execute that hockey sense.
Yeah, if you want an example of that, Wildcats fans, think back to that beautiful transition goal that Nick Farmer scored against the Amarillo Bulls in that 6-goal second period a few weeks ago. It was a blind backhand into some space by Matt Cook from his own defensive half wall. One of the passes of this season, and I think about the best pass I've seen Matt Cook pick out, except for one last year in Odessa. But enough on that. Either way, Matt Cook would probably make one heck of a chess player as well, with his ability to read ahead. Yeah. John, now I want to get your thoughts on Jersey Off Our Back weekend. This past Saturday, the Wildcats obviously held their annual benefit for Children's Miracle Network. It's something that the organization has been involved with since hockey came to Wichita Falls. It's something that's near and dear to the heart of our owner, Roy DeVault, and it's really one of the biggest events that the Wildcats do all year long. And for your part, being a first-timer as I was last year, what was your overall impression of that event?
Well, I don't know if I've ever been a part of that type of fundraiser that raised that much money. I know I haven't, and I was impressed with just the generosity of our fans and of our parents and of our billet families, and just the energy, the effort, the work that was put into that. The CMN staff, of course, Amber G, just worked tirelessly to put that off, and to pull it off, and it was fun. If somebody would have said, "Wow, this is gonna take 2 or 3 hours to do," your first reaction, "Wow, that's a long time." It seemed like it went by in 10 minutes. I thought Tobin was unbelievable. He kept it light and fun, and the guy that was helping him was fantastic. He was great. I just enjoyed it. I had fun, and I think other people, they all seem to be having fun at a fundraising auction. You sit back and go, how many times have you gone to an auction? I really enjoyed it, and it was fun, and the kids did a great job with their song and dance and put the effort in ahead of time, and I was just honored to be a part of that, and was real proud of the effort that our guys gave for that, and they seemed to put their heart and soul in the performance they did.
Now, the Wildcats raised $30,801 through the auction alone, not counting all the extra stuff that goes on and goes into it, like Chuck-a-Duck and the T-shirt sales and everything like that. They beat last year's total just by the auction alone, looking like it's going to be over $35,000 raised this year for the Wildcats. And the best part, and I'm sure John will agree with me here, all of that money will stay right here in Texoma to go to help kids in our community who need the help at United Regional Healthcare System. And John LaFontaine's jersey went for $2,000. That was the high water mark on the auction. So welcome to Wichita Falls, John. You're going to have a hard time following that one up next year.
Well, I'll tell you, it was just great to be part of that event. And I really think it was a neat idea for, I don't know if it was yours or Amber's, to have our guys go to the hospital in a month before, 6 weeks before, because I think because of that, our guys now, in their mind, had a vision of what they were doing, where this was going. I think that really helped them want to be involved and genuinely want to be involved.
Yeah, the looks on their, and I said this throughout the broadcast Saturday evening, the looks on their faces when we were at the hospital was just astounding. I like the way Amber G described it pre-auction on Saturday night. They all seem to take on this kind of big brother-like mentality, this protector mindset. And to have that face to go along with that cause, I think, really helped them. And you could tell the guys were having a blast as well. John, any final thoughts before we let you get out of here? I know it's been a long few days for you.
No, thanks, Ben. And I'm just excited to have a couple home games this weekend and hopefully finish a good homestand.
That's right. The Wildcats wrap up an 8-game homestand with their Thursday-Friday set against Corpus Christi. We'll step aside. When we come back, we'll have highlights from last weekend against the Rio Grande Valley Killer Bees. We'll have some news and notes for the weeks ahead. We'll have more of the Wildcats Weekly on the way just after this. Back here on Wildcats Weekly, you just heard from Wildcats head coach John LaFontaine talking about a 2-game split with the Rio Grande Valley Killer Bees, and now we'll turn our attention back to those 2 games. Here are highlights from the weekend against the Rio Grande Valley Killer Bees. As the referee Collins will get things ready to go, and the North American Hockey League's early face-off is underway here at the K. Yeager Coliseum. Is off the draw. It's controlled by Rio Grande Valley. Wood down below the goal line once more, trying to shake past Hinchin. His pass found a man in the corner. That's Wendling over there on the far side. As tumbling down to the ice was Apap, or rather Baum. Baum sitting on top of the puck right now as it's finally worked free. All alone in front, and Abbott shanked it out in front once more, and it's off the outside of the cage. And now we got throws. It's Hinchin on the far side. They go down. Connor Wood still throwing them. 17:04 remaining in the first, and we get a scrap early on. Hinchin and Connor Wood locked up there. Bell can't hold his own here as this is carrying along for Apap to corral. Apap, hard near side. Bolio trying to step onto this one. Can't reach it. Loose puck. Settled down by Baum. Out in front there looking for Yeager, and it was off his back skate, and he couldn't corral it. Nice step up there by Cam Knight, but it's a 2-on-1 for Rio Grande Valley. Leading the charges, G-Rats. Holding shot. Saved there by Shaw. Follow-up attempt there. Rather, it was Balsamo with the effort. 45 remaining in the Wildcats power play. Farmer picks this one up, hard to the near side. Sherazin with a nice move to gain the zone. Here's Sherazin in front, they score! It's Farmer! Quick power play tally for the Wildcats, just 21 seconds into the man advantage. They take the lead. Farmer scores on the power play. Goal number 15 on the air for Nick, as Sherazin fed the middle on a nice give and go, and the Cats have their first goal of the weekend. Subri left this one behind as he tried to chip it in deep. Wisely touched it along for Schofield. Here's Schofield, quick shot. That went off a leg and caromed well wide. It's Wisely once more. Back off to the near side wall. First to it there. Schofield left it in front, and Shaw with a point-blank save on Balsamo, as somehow that skittered through everybody. Reisinger fishes this one free and left it along there. It's picked up and worked along farther by Sherazin. Sherazin, turnaround shot, sent wide of the cage. Farmer picks this one up. We're in the last minute of play in the period, brought to you by La Quinta Inns and Suites. Cook, now it's Sherazin. His shot scores! Eric Yeager let the shot go from the slot, and the Wildcats double their lead. It's 2-0. Sherazin with the screen in front. He might have gotten a tip. Either way, if he didn't, it's another power play tally And Yeager's shot finds Twine, and the Cats lead 2-0. Flowing around the boards, held in by Townsend, chipped down below the goal line. Sheridan not able to reach this one ahead of Van Tile, as Van Tile will look to play a pass. Headman, no icing here, as first to it will be Connor Wood. His shot, save, rebound, it doesn't go. It went wide of the cage. Shaw is all tangled up in knots in his own net. Finally, he extricates himself. What a sequence. Towards the net, and it's wide. Oh, my goodness. Wood, it caromed out in front after he beat the icing, and he almost dashed it home short side. Then with Shaw in his net, a follow-up attempt was blocked by somebody on the goal line. Stobbs spinning away there, spins away once more, plays it up the wall, where pulling it from the left wing boards was Cam Knight. Bolio, now Apap in front, and a save by Johansson. Follow-up attempt there. Puck is loose. They'll jam for it. Puck is still loose as they finally blow the whistle. Van Tile plays this one along. Van Tile hits slap shot. Toe save there by Shaw. 33 seconds remaining. Below the goal line with it. Net still empty to our left. Rio Grande Valley holds his own. Van Tile serves it behind the cage. First to it here is Parker Wood. Parker Wood at the left wing circle. Nielsen held on a one-timer. Now it's Wood walking down low. His shot fought off there by Shaw and goes to the corner. 15 seconds remaining. Sent down the ice softly. Staub hustling after it, chopping for it there. And he was able to fish it free. Staub still trying to jab it loose. Not able to do so. 5 seconds remaining. Here is Wisely, now Wood, now a quick little shot from Cruston goes wide, and there's the horn. Austin Shaw gets his shutout as the Wildcats rebound from a 1-0 loss last night for a 2-0 win here this evening. Heard highlights from the Wildcats' bounce-back 2-0 win over the Rio Grande Valley Killer Bees. Austin Shaw picks up his second shutout of the season in the win as the Wildcats salvage out a weekend split against Rio Grande Valley last Friday and Saturday. Now it's time to get you up to date with all the news and notes you're going to need for the next few weeks. First off, I want to echo what Wildcats head coach John LaFontaine said in an earlier segment and thank everyone who came out to support Jersey Off Our Back on Saturday evening. What a great event it was. A whole lot of money raised, great time had by all. The Wildcats raised $30,801 just through the auction alone. Now they're still tabulating everything else, the t-shirt sales and the Chuck-a-Duck and everything else, but it looks like the Wildcats were going to have raised over $35,000 for Children's Miracle Network right here at United Regional. Another great event. We can't wait to do it all again next year, but we have to say thanks so much to all of our fans, the families, the player parents, the billets, everyone who was involved and supported our efforts with their generosity. Stick taps to all of you for how much you supported this cause. It sure does mean a lot to the Wildcats, and I can certainly say that it means a lot to our ownership as well. Let's get you set for the weekend ahead. The Wildcats are home against the Corpus Christi IceRays on Thursday and Friday at the K. Yeager Coliseum. We're back to the 7:05 start time for both of those contests. Now, Friday night is Restore the Roar Noisemaker Night. The first 500 fans in the door will receive a free Wildcats noisemaker, and don't forget to stick around after the game on Friday night for post-game skate. It's your chance to strap on the skates with your favorite Wildcats player for just $5. That's after Friday night's game. One other thing to alert you to, folks, is we know we're still in the thick of the 2014-15 season, but we've always got an eye on the future here at the Wildcats, and to that end, we are getting close to releasing our season ticket pricing information for the 2015-16 campaign. Now, we can't say too much yet, but what we can say for certain is that fans are going to like what they see when the pricing structure is announced. We're hoping to have flyers ready for this weekend's game, so be sure to look for that when you stop by Guest Services to grab your game programs, your Chuck-a-Pucks, and your player of the game cards. So, until this Thursday and Friday at the K. Yeager Coliseum, I'm Ben Horner saying thanks so much for joining us on Wildcats Weekly, presented by Armored Roofing. If you need to get in touch with us, 716-5587 is the number to call. If you need tickets for this weekend's action, 716-5555 for the KYC box office. And as always, find us online at WFWildcatsHockey.com or on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at WF Wildcats. Until this weekend at the KYC, I'm Ben Horner for all of us at the Wildcats saying thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you around the rink.